Inspecting the damage he had just done and thinking that his day couldn't get any worse, he knelt down in the driveway and peered underneath his car. Just as he was about to check the ground's paving stones more closely, he heard a terrible sound that made his heart sink. What had he discovered? Hello and welcome to Storyscape. And here's the story of a man who kept hearing strange noises under his driveway. Watch the video till the end to look out what he found inside. But before we begin, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. When he bought a new house, he didn't know what he was getting into. But 37-year-old Simon Marks couldn't resist when he found a cheap house in Luton, England. He quickly signed the paperwork, and the transfer was underway, so he didn't question why the previous owner was in such a hurry to sell it. Months later, Simon was excited to unpack his things and spend the first night in his new home. After a tiring weekend of moving, he climbed into bed exhausted. As he thought about his shorter commute to work, he happily set his alarm for 8 a.m. But in the darkness, he heard a strange sound. Trying not to make a sound, he listened carefully. Then, he heard it again. It was coming from outside, a dull and muted sound like gravel scraping on metal. Curious, he looked out the window into the garden below, but nothing was moving and it was quiet again. He shrugged and went back to bed, unaware that something strange was happening under his house. The next morning, Simon tried to back his car out of the driveway, but it wouldn't budge. Frustrated, he revved the engine until the car finally moved. When he got out to see what was under the front wheel, he saw that the driveway had cracked. As he knelt down to get a closer look, he saw that the paving stones had broken and the concrete was crumbling into the ground. But as the dust settled, he saw something unusual in the crack. Simon knew that his house was built in the 1970s by the elderly couple who lived there before him. But this was not part of the original plan. When he felt it was safe to step on the surrounding paving stones, he lay down and inched closer. He saw something shiny in the dirt, so he grabbed a trowel and started digging. The dirt came away easily, and soon he could see a piece of metal sticking out. He tried to pull it out, but it wouldn't move. He decided to dig around the mysterious object to free it from the ground. As he uncovered more of it, he realized it was connected to something else. At first, when he saw the hole opening up, he worried about his car or even his whole house being swallowed by a big hole. But when he looked closer and saw something man-made underneath, he knew it was something more sinister. He called for help. Simon's father, Gerald, rushed to the scene. Without any special tools, they started to remove the cracked concrete, revealing a hole in the ground with a rusty ladder going down. They felt uneasy. Why was there a hidden passageway under the driveway, and where did it lead? Simon had researched the house before buying it, but he knew that surveys wouldn't tell him about this secret passageway. According to reports, there was nothing but empty land there before the house was built. They kept digging, removing buckets of dirt as they went. After about 5 feet, they could climb down the ladder to investigate. They found 2 rooms hidden underground. Simon felt unsure about going further, so he used a selfie stick with his phone attached to lower it into the hole. On the phone screen, they saw the underground rooms. Gerald had an idea of what they were, but they needed to be sure. Simon bought the property for around $500,000, not knowing what lay beneath it. The elderly seller had never mentioned this secret. The sounds he heard the night before were the driveway slowly sinking into the hidden room. As Simon and Gerald stopped digging, they did some research. They found out that the land had been empty before the previous owners, but it was in a strategic location in the town, and the house was built in a special time. My dad recognized it as an air raid shelter, Simon said. We found out there are quite a few in this area. After more research, Simon learned that this shelter was from World War II. The previous owner must have known it was there, and when he built the house and put a garden in, he must have filled it in, Simon said. They found out that during World War II, a man named Sir John Anderson had a plan to protect people from bombings. He wanted to keep British citizens safe from the bombings he knew were coming. So he made simple underground shelters that could be buried in people's backyards. These shelters had walls made of lightweight metal instead of heavy concrete. There were over 2 million of these shelters all over the country, but what Simon found was different. By looking at the chamber Simon found, Gerald knew it wasn't one of Anderson's shelters, even though it was from 1938. After a bomb landed nearby, people in the area were scared because their town was now a target. They needed a better shelter. The community came together to build a shelter that could withstand air raids better. Gerald could see that the shelter they found wasn't like Anderson's. It had at least 2 rooms and was made of bricks and concrete. As they dug deeper, they found some unusual things. In one of the hidden rooms, Simon and Gerald found an old newspaper from World War II. It had headlines like, "Is this the end for Luton Airport?" and stories about life during the war. This was a rare look at what life was like back then. They also found evidence that the shelter used to have food and water for the people who hid there. People in these shelters could be stuck there for days. "It's amazing to think it was all made by hand," Simon said. The concrete walls were strong because they were reinforced with bricks and mortar. But even after finding this incredible discovery, their work wasn't finished. "It's been a lot of digging," Simon said. "We're about 5 feet down now, and we have about 5 more feet to go. We'll need to get a skip to remove all the dirt." They found a bricked-up wall, and they weren't sure if there were more rooms behind it. "If that's the case, we'll just have to leave it," Simon said. But soon, everyone was talking about their discovery. As Simon and his father kept digging, reporters and neighbors came to see what they found. Simon didn't care about the attention. He felt a duty to preserve his country's history. Simon's motivations extended beyond the newfound attention. He felt a profound sense of duty to preserve this piece of history, not for personal fame, but as a testament to his country's rich heritage. Simon and his father envisioned restoring the shelter and seeking its declaration as an important historical monument. They believed that the sacrifices of the past should never be forgotten, offering future generations the opportunity to connect with and learn from their history. He wanted to restore the shelter and make it a historical monument. He believed that even though the war was over, this part of history should not be forgotten. He hoped that future generations would visit the shelter and learn about this important part of history. Thanks for watching, and remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon for more amazing stories.